What up? What up? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Grid and Grind Show. Today's a big show, but before we get to it, got to plug some sponsors, pay the bills, keep the lights and the air on in this place. The Grid and Grind Show is brought to you by the Mental Game Performance Coaching. Go to tmgperformancecoaching.com and sign up for your first free mental performance, sports performance coaching session. Promise you won't be disappointed. Chinook Seeds, best sunflower seeds in the game, 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local gas station, convenience store, grocery store across the entire country. Pick up the best sunflower seeds in the game. Jesus One Apparel. Go to JesusOneApparel.com, enter IOTB20 and get 20% off your order. And finally, Old Dominick Distillery. Go to OldDominickDistillery.com. They got your bourbon. They got your vodka. They got your whiskey. They got your gin. They got everything that will tickle your fancy or wet your whistle. Promise you won't be disappointed. Matt Hornaday's got him a nice little bottle of gin. He's going to give me a rundown of that. Tell me what he thinks about it the next time I see him. But with that, we got a big show. We're talking power rankings. I been hinting at some power rankings over the past couple weeks, and it's just been really hard. The match formats haven't lent itself to being able to really compare apples to apples, but an effort to have some consistency and some other perspective and other points of view. I got my guest today, Jason from Jason Fitness Media. Jason, what's up, brother?
Oh, what's up? Yeah, I've just walked through the door.
Hey, that's great because you get to sit down and talk power rankings. And I know I had to twist your arm to do this, even though this is what the fans want.
Is it? Is this what me? My power rankings? I feel like I'm an after the action guy. So, I like to gather all the facts and afterwards talk about it. This is preemptive. We're talking about what's to come. And that's where I always feel, I don't know. There are others that really love doing that. And it's the same in the CrossFit world. Whenever events were coming up, people love to kind of put out their predictions for top 10 at the games or something like that. And I'm always like, oh, wait and see what happens. I want to talk about that very controversial no rep, or that, that's where I sit. That's my happy place. But hey, I'm here. Let's do it.
So here's the thing. I found it hard for me to really just give my full perspective on power rankings. And plus, I just didn't want everybody to be mad at me. I wanted them to be mad at you. I wanted us to share this together.
They're already mad at me. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the last few episodes of my show, but different people are mad for different reasons.
It's all good. In the comments, you got Matt Rattay. He's giving us the emojis. You got Paul Bear, he's ready to go. You got Kristen Benito, she's saying it's fire. I mean, you got even gorgeous Clark Lawson out there. He's ready. So there are people that want us to do this. They want us to be together. And I think that's what I was alluding to more than anything, Jason, is they wanted you and I to get on here and talk grid more than anything.
Well, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy that I'm here. And I apologize that I'm late, everybody, but I was scrolling back through the messages and we did have a time zone mix up where you're like, oh, this time is 6:30 is 12:30 for me. That's perfect. I was like, yeah, that's fine for me as well. And it is only now that I've realized it wasn't 6:30, it was 5:30. And that, so I actually got in thinking, oh, I've got an hour to sit down and have a little think about this. And then you're like, where are you? I was like, oh, okay, give me 5 minutes. I'm on. But here we are. Don't worry about that, everybody. I know Paul's here because Paul wants to see, spoilers, but I think like Venom's breakers are the hardest to kind of pin down in the power rankings. So I think Paul wants to see where we're putting them.
Yeah, I think really it's a crapshoot. He doesn't want us to do him dirty again. Paul, I'm gonna try everything in my power, but if you're not happy, don't blame me, blame Jason. I think
Paul, if you don't want me to do you dirty, I need you to answer this question for me before we go any further. You put out a post, or the Venoms put out a post about athletes submitting a video if they want the opportunity to play at New York. How's that going? Because that's something I'm factoring into my power rankings.
Very, very true. You know, potential where things could go, where the roster is, how they're going to look, and what's at play moving forward for the Venom is definitely something that we're going to have to talk about. But I guess for structure purposes, we're going to start at 10, Jason.
Makes
and
sense.
you and I are going to go through the options, and we're going to come to a consensus on 10 all the way down to 1. Sound fair?
Fair for me. Yeah, I'm fine doing that. Fair for the teams, who knows? But fair for me. I'm happy to go.
We'll see how it goes. All right, so let's get into this. All right, so number 10. Number 10, I think for me, it's you know, Paul's gonna give you a little insight. Regardless of the player, they look good. They have a couple good options. They'll announce who that is on the 25th. So we still got some weeks before that happens. We're still a month away from the next set of matches. But
I'm just curious though as well. And don't worry, Paul, we're not going to put you in 10th place. But I am curious, do you have to hand your previous power rankings?
I don't have them.
Have you done? I saw the ones you did pre-season. Have you done any since the season
I haven't done
began?
any since because I wanted to give it a couple weeks to get one. I wanted all the teams to play at least one match.
Yeah.
2, I wanted multiple teams to have played the same match format. And so that's where we're at. Not all teams have played the same match format. We don't have complete apples to apples, but it's going to be a lot of eye test. Here's what I did create for us. It's just kind of a little synopsis of all the things. So I think it's fair right now to start at 10, and I'm going to put the Carolina Flight unless you can talk me out of it.
Wow. No.
Some of the things to take in mind is they're 0-1. Yes, they came out and looked like a rookie team in the first half of the match, but they looked a lot better. I think they had control in the back half of the match. They do have losses against the Bandits. They have losses against quite a bit of teams, you know, and the thing is not losses against quite a bit of teams, but those race losses that they have in that match, you know, you got to look at those things. And I think for me, given that they're only a few weeks into the season, they're only a few months into having a team, it kind of showed. I think they have a lot of room to grow by all means, but I don't think that maybe at the end of the season they may not be 10th. But I think for me right now, if I got to rank one, it's got to be the Flight at 10.
Yeah. There are a couple of players that can do some pretty amazing things. Like there were a couple of times that I was caught off guard by the speed of some handstand push-ups, for example. That was something to take note of. But unfortunately, that is not enough for a team. So they've got some great players. They need a bit more team cohesion, which is understandable that they don't have because they were thrown together very last minute. They didn't get opportunities to train together. And they've got they've got New York coming up, as in New York, the team.
Yeah, they got
New York, the location.
The Wolves.
And then they've got the Palms and the Venoms.
Yep.
And I think it would be very hard for them to potentially take any of those teams. So I'm going to keep them at 10th with you. I'm not going to talk you out of it.
Okay.
And I think they understand that. Like they knew this season was going to be a very uphill battle for them. But we love to see you out there, guys. You look wonderful.
No, I mean, I think that's the beauty of it, is that you can see the potential in what they have. I mean, you have Alexis Turpin, you have Chelsea Espy, you have Ryan Clark, you have Hunter Williams, you have a good core group. That's not all of them, but some people that were pretty influential on this last week that are only going to get better. And I think they're going to be good. I think they're led by a really solid coach and a guy who is masterful in what he does and is when it comes to coaching, he's top notch. So we'll stick with the flight at number 10. So Jason, coming in at number 9, who, I'll throw it your way. Who would you say if you were going to have to put in a number 9 team? Who goes number 9?
That's interesting, because I know who. So I'm just looking that our man has put in here your rankings, the preseason rankings, which I do appreciate. So you had the Wolves at number 9.
Yeah.
Now, I'm currently I'm looking at the Palms, and they haven't yet managed to win a match. They've lost to the Bandits. They've lost to the Sharks. Sharks, very powerful team. They will be playing the Breakers in New Jersey. And then in Dallas, I think they go against the Flight. That's pretty tough until that final match, I think. So it almost sounds crazy for me to say it, but I'm worried that that might be the only win they pick up. And the Wolves also will go against the Flight, and I feel pretty confident with them having that one. They've still got to go against the Wilds and the Venom. And I feel like I don't know if they would necessarily win either of those matches, but I think they might get a slightly better finish in those matches than maybe the Palms. So I kind of want to be really controversial because you had where did you have the Palms? You had them 5th.
I had them 5.
Yeah. Would it be mad to knock them all the way down to 9th?
So I'll say this. If we decided to go 9, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think there's some injuries that create some holes for the Palms, especially on that body weight side for the males, where it was glaring. It was a huge, issue for them in Lakeland. Now, does that hole get fixed? I don't know, but I do think the Palms have some really good athletes that are holding it together. I mean, Heather Hudson and Jess Placencia have been great on the female side. Clark Lawson has been just a stud as a rookie.
I'm aware of Clark being in the chat as well. and
he's there, man. He's in there.
He's staring at me right now through a screen going, what are you talking about? And I also know that Heather was really ill going into the Lakeland matches, and she'd kind of been ill all week. And we were speaking just before, maybe a day before, 2 days before. And I was like, are you actually going to be fit enough to play? So I understand. It's very, I mean, and then the Wolves, they just had a much better showing than I expected, but I feel like it depends if I want to be controversial. I think it's either, I don't want to jump ahead. But it's either, it's 8-9, the Palms and the Wolves, and I kind of would let it go either way.
I think what has to decide it is what you've seen in matches so far. And what I've seen from the Palms is that they've, in my eyes, they let a Bandits team come back and take a victory from them. And then 2, they just got overwhelmed by a really, really good team.
Yeah.
From the Wolf side, you have a team that probably, if they would have gotten beat by a substantial amount, we would have said understandable because this is their first year, but they didn't. They, in my eyes, beat a really consistent, steady, good brigade team. And to me, like, I think you have to put the Palms 9 and then put the Wolves 8 because of that.
Yeah. And it's tricky. And this is where the season format is playing tricks with us, because we're going, well, the Palms have lost twice now. That's not a great sign. The Wolves have only lost once, but they've only played one match. So it's like, well, but generally we're seeing rookie teams improve match over match. So for that to be their that's not their first match of the season. That is their first match, full stop. And they did very well. So I think, as a little like tip of the cap to how well they did in that first match, despite the many controversial calls that we discussed at length on multiple podcasts.
We're not going to go backwards, Jason.
No. We're not going to go backwards.
We're going forward.
I just think that, like, it's hard to look at that match and then just get real data from it because of how disrupted it was for numerous reasons. So I'm going to upset the Palms. Sorry, Briley, Arthur, Heather, Clark. Oh, let's just see what he's got to say first of all. Bandits was a tough loss. Then we had a bad show against the Sharks. Definitely don't disagree with you boys. Well, you've sealed the deal for us there.
I mean, just think, though, we could be having a totally different conversation if the Palms don't lose to the Bandits.
Yeah. And
could be
we could be having a very different different conversation if this month, next month, very start of next month, if the Palms beat the Breakers, I say that skyrockets them up the power rankings, because if they beat the Breakers, then they've got the flight, and I think that change, that's a big shift in the whole season for them.
Very true.
But currently, and you know what, Palms, let this light a fire under you. And I'm looking forward to Daniel interviewing you, one of you on the grid, and they say, so what was it that pushed you to go to this lengths to crush the Breakers in such a dominant fashion? And you say, well, we listened to the power rankings and we were very unhappy. So you're welcome.
Listen, please don't let that be the motivating factor for you guys. Let winning be the motivating factor. So we're in agreement. Flight 10, Palms 9, and it looks like for 8, we're leaning towards the Wolves here.
I'd say so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, currently while they've had a impressive first match for a rookie team, it still resulted in them losing the match. They then are going to have to play 2 matches in New York. I think the advantage they have, besides the advantage of it being in New Jersey and so convenient for them, as most of them are living in the area, probably bringing a massive crowd with them I mean, the chat on the live stream was full of like people from New York who had never watched Grid. It was brilliant. So
I think New York in general is riding a high when it comes to sports right now. And I think, like, from a fan perspective, it's going to be pretty crazy from the amount of New York Wolves fans that are probably going to be in attendance.
Yeah. So, and they're playing the flight as their first match. Mm-hmm. So when the team is freshest, when they can have the kind of ideal roster they want to put out first, they get to go against the flight, which I feel, that's the match they have by far the best chance of winning in the whole season.
Yeah.
Then they're going to go against the Venoms, which is why I think, depending on what holes have been created in the team based on this post that they're looking for people for New York, they could take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that match against the flight is going to be big for them as far as what it could possibly do for them moving forward. But a loss to the flight only magnifies the next day against the Venom, because now you're taking on a Venom team who has been off for a while and should be rested, and you're coming to play them back-to-back days. And from what athletes have said is that it is a grind to do a back-to-back, but I think from a CrossFit perspective, it may not be as bad, just because I think from a competition standpoint, you're used to doing those back-to-back competitive days. But getting back to number 8, I think the Wolves sit at number 8. They're 0-1. They had a 5-point loss to the Brigade. Nothing to be ashamed of in that regard. But they did have Sydney Pollock, Selena Swanger, Brandon Ferraro, and one guy that I think is just might be one of the strongest dudes in the league, Sig. That guy is just a beast. But this is another team, Jason, that if you go in that sprint relay, if the rope climb for Mike Rosa goes a different way, we might be having a totally different conversation about them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And even, you mentioned Sig, like that ringer was so close. Like there were so many incredibly close finishes, which, I get, and of course, like that's the nature of grid, right? But that's I guess what we mean by, like, it was for a rookie team to come out swinging that hard was very impressive. And you've mentioned some of the other athletes there that show, they've got different people that can perform certain movements that usually trip you up. So having multiple people that can do, toes to ring, uprises, things like that, it's just, if something happens and you need to change, during an echo or something like that, having other people that can fill certain gaps is an advantage. It looks like they have a really balanced roster, which doesn't surprise you when you know how long they were working on building that roster. So they've had a lot of prep time, and in kind of Batman style, with enough prep time you can take down anyone. It feels like that's what they've done. They've prepped well.
Yeah. All right, so puts us at 7. Who do you got in the 7th spot? And I think it starts getting dicey from here out. Is going to get pretty dicey.
Who have I got? I haven't really got anyone, because I haven't had much time to think about this. Let me. Who have you got in 7th? Let's throw it back to you for a second. So I need to make a list. Hold on, I need to write. I'm going pen and paper.
That's the best way. That's what I got. So, all right, when you look at the teams that you have to choose from, you have the Wild, the Venom, the Brigade, the Lions, the Bandits, the Breakers, the Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You're looking at the Wild, who's 1-1. They lost to a Venom team and beat a Lions team. You have the Venom, who are 1-0, who beat a Wild team. You have the Brigade, who are 1-1, who lost to the Lions and then beat the Wolves. You have a Lions team at 1-1 who beat the Brigade and lost to the Wild. Then you have a Bandits team that's 2-0 that beat the Palms and then beat the Flight. And then you're looking at a Breakers team who is 0-1 that lost to the Sharks. And then you have the Sharks, who are at 2-0. I would say, for all intents and purposes, the Sharks are out of the question for any of the next conversation for a little bit. In my opinion, when you look at where teams were, where they're at, it would be tough for me to put anybody at 7 other than the Wild. And here's why.
Yeah, go for it.
Because they lost to a Venom team but beat a Lions team. And yes, the Lions team was a good team. And the Venom team, I think, is a good team. But in the past rankings, if you take that into consideration, it's kind of a wash. And so you can't put the Venom in that spot because the Venom beat the Wild. So that would be kind of a silly thing to do. And then you have a Brigade team who has a win, but has a loss against that same Lions team that they beat. So it's just this really, really crazy mix. But if I had to really dive into it, I think I put the Wild at 7. I don't like it, but they got to go somewhere.
Yeah, how much are you factoring in the upcoming matches? Like, so there's the matches we've seen them play, and this is where again the season is tricky, because if a team like takes more losses, but their losses against better teams than another team, would you still rank them high? Would you still give them a higher power ranking? Like, you're a better team, but you had harder opponents. Does that make sense? Or is it, or are we basing this on like how their season is going to end up?
I think it's hard to base it. So the way that I look at it, and this might be a tough analogy for you, college football in America.
Well,
it's very much from a week to week ranking system. Like, you could lose to an inferior team but be ranked ahead of them the following week. And that's a lot to do with who you've beat prior, but also a little bit about, what you can do and who you're scheduled against, and a lot of different little factors. But for this, I think it's hard to start going, well, the Wild or the Venom or the Brigade or the Lions are going to play this team and this team coming up. I think it's kind of solely based right now on the body of work that's been done now, what you've seen, kind of an eye test, because I don't have race times. And even if you did have race times, like with challenges and reruns, it's really hard to really, quantify some of those. And so when I look at the eye test, I do think the Wild have like very, very strong roster. They've added Nicole Hunt, who's been phenomenal, and despite not being 100%. Amanda's back. Anna Dawn. You got RJ, who was instrumental last week. Patrick Long, another, powerhouse. And you have them with guys like Kavika and Matt Cable, who we are not sure what or if we're going to see them. And then Tom's hurt. And like you kind of mix all those things in, and then you go, hey, we have Matt Phelan, who is just a stud. But it's hard for me to put any other team at 7 for the same reason. So that's why I'm gonna go with the Wild. Yes, that moves them from 6th in the last rankings to 7th, but I don't think it's because of anything that they've done. I think it's just what other teams are doing as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm thinking that, yeah. So just because like they're also going to be going up against they're not in New York, so they'll be playing doubleheader in Dallas. They're going to go against the Wolves, so that gives them a good opportunity, because it's again a rookie team. And then they've got the Bandits that any other season last season we would have been like, that's another good opportunity for them, although the Bandits are doing incredibly well this season. Looking at their previous matches, I mean, getting beaten by the Venoms again, once upon a time, you'd have been like, that's That's pretty bad to get beat by the Venoms. But the Venoms are, they came out really strong. They're looking like a good team this season, Paul. And then they did beat the Lions, which is probably maybe the only real upset we've had of the entire season so far. Is the Wild beat the Lions. Which again sounds crazy that's an upset when you just think like 2 seasons ago they won the championship. It's like they won the whole thing with a very different team, and then they were rebuilding last season and it was not great. This season they've beaten the Lions, but they've beaten the Lions by 1 point, and there was the fan voted ringer was instrumental in getting them a point that they needed. So it is one of the things where, I can understand that beating the Lions feels like that should be a massive accomplishment. Like that just feels like, I mean, where did you must have had the Lions, second on your, second on the power rankings last time. So they beat the team that we thought was second. But they beat them by 1 point. And so I will allow them to sit in 7th. I don't have any reason for them not to beyond. I think they could have a really good rest of the season if things go well with the matches they've got coming up. But I guess until we see that, they will have. So ironically, they've dropped.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And that happens from time to time. Like I said, it's not something I like.
Know.
But
it's just funny because they beat the Lions and we've rewarded them by dropping them a place.
Great job. You moved down a spot. Sorry. No,
okay.
I mean, just like we said, on August 10th, these rankings could look totally different. And they probably will. All right. 6th. So we got the Flight at 10. We have the Palms at 9. We have the Wolves at 8. We have the Wild at 7. 6. Where are we leaning, Jason, with number 6?
Again, this is tricky. Obviously we've only seen one match from the Breakers, which they lost, but it was to the Sharks. So that's tough. And we've seen one match from the Venom, which they won, but it was against the Wild. The Brigade lost to the Lions, but then they beat the Wolves. All of these teams it's so close at this point between everyone. And then it's amazing that I'm not even thinking about putting the Bandits there.
Yeah.
Because how can I? They're 2-0. Like
I think for me, the Bandits are the anomaly in this whole thing, because if you look at the current rankings that we have the Flight 10 and the Palms 9, and those are the 2 teams that the Bandits team has beaten. So yes, they're 2-0, but in these rankings, they've beaten the number 10 and number 9 teams.
Yeah. The number 9 team, it was very close. It came down to sprint relay. The number 10 team, they dominated that match. 2014.
I think one thing that we can't take away from the Bandits in that Palms victory, it was by 1, but they had to earn it. They had to come back and do the work. And so I don't want that to get lost. Yeah, they won by 1 point, but they had to do some serious work to make that happen, and they did. Had to throw some bonus flags, had to have a rerun, but that's part of the sport and something that you've got to defend if those things happen. But 6 is tough. 6 is 6. I mean, I think 6 through. I mean, the next, there's just not an easy route. So, what are you thinking?
Okay. I'm just putting down now my right. And I'm going to do this partly as well because everyone thinks I play favorites. So I'm going to put the Breakers at 6.
The Breakers
Although,
at 6.
I mean, they lost to the Sharks, but like that was so close. And I'm going to put the Breakers at 6 with a big asterisk saying you've played one match. You're probably better than this, but currently, I'm gonna put them there.
Is losing a match to a 2-0 team better than winning a match against a 1-1 team?
Well, I mean
that's kind of where it's hard for me to justify the Breakers at 6. And one, when you look at the Breakers, they don't have everybody.
No.
You know, they don't have Billy. They don't have Nicky Rogers. They don't, that is some, plus they're transitioning through to not having someone that they thought they were going to have, but arguably one of the better female athletes in the league. And they were able to do all of that and still only lose by a point to the defending champs.
Yeah.
And a 2-0 Sharks team.
So here's what I'll say. If all the pieces come together that they're talking about, then I think they would go higher. Right? Yep. But I need to see those people take to the grid. I've now decided this is, and I've maybe decided that this within the last 2.5 to 3 seconds. Until I see a player place a foot on the grid, I do not consider them a part of your roster. Colton Mertens, Guy, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other names I saw last season that were, there are a number of times we've heard about players joining, and then we've just not seen them appear for various reasons. From speaking with the Breakers, they've got some great players that are joining. Similar, actually, with the Lions. I know there's some players coming and like different ones. And even speaking with those players, I know they have the intention to be there.
Yeah.
But until I see you take to the grid, I cannot genuinely consider you a part of the roster.
That's a valid point. I will allow it, and I'll go with you on that. We'll put the Breakers at 6. Now, when it's all said and done, we'll look through it and make sure that we're confident in these. But we'll put the Breakers at 6. So that puts us at 5. You got the Venom, you have the Lions, the Bandits, and the Sharks.
Yes.
So,
well, and here's the thing: is that so I would put the Venom. I would put the Venoms next. Like, so for me, the hardest one is the Venom's Breakers, because as you said, what's literally what you said before. Like, what is more impressive? Is you beating the Wild more impressive than somebody almost beating the Sharks?
Right.
Debatable. The only thing that tips that over a little bit is the Wild then beating the Lions. Because again, if this was last season and you told me what's more impressive, almost beating the Sharks or someone beating the Wild, I would have said, well, obviously it's almost beating the Sharks because, the Wild didn't beat anyone. They like beating the Wild. That seemed to be what everyone was doing. But now they've gone against arguably one of the toughest teams and they won. And I feel like, while that resulted in us dropping a place on the power rankings, ironically, I think that gives a tad more validity to the Venom's victory.
What's better then? Is a 1-point loss to the Sharks better than a 1-point victory against the Lions?
The
reason I'm saying this because we got the Wild and the Breakers right there, and we're kind of looking at
Oh, right. Do you think we should put? I mean, you want to put the Wild above the Breakers?
I don't. I mean, I'm throwing it out there. It's
Yeah, I know you are. That's. I mean, it's a good question, isn't it? I think it feels like victories should be rewarded more. That's what it feels like. But spoilers, the Sharks are going to be number 1 on the power ranking list, and that's where things get like they've come out like, yeah, they struggled against the Breakers. I think it's fair to say, like, a lot of it came down to ringer matches as well, which is, something to, I don't know, put another like 2 little asterisks now next to that, because that's another factor.
yeah.
But then, like, what was it, 10 points over the Palms? Like, that's so I think the Sharks are still, doing what they do. They have obviously had an amazing season last season and have decided to double down on that and build on that momentum, despite them also losing a number of players for, very nice reasons. A number of them are creating baby sharks, which we love to see, but
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to have slowed them down at all. And I just think, and it's hard as well to not be looking forward and being like, well, which matches have they got coming up? And, and I think the Sharks have tougher matches coming up than other teams.
Yeah. The Sharks, I think
They've got the Lions, they've got the Brigade.
Lions and the Brigade.
Yeah.
So
but
let's do this. Let's table those two. We'll come back to them and we'll think about it as we move our way through it. But you're saying the Venom is at 5
for now. Yeah, I think so.
I can get with that. I think the Venom's next match against the Wolves is going to tell us a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that match, that shakes up the whole power rankings, because, as we said, if the Wolves, like, already we've put the Wolves above the Palms, which is potentially controversial. If they manage to beat the Venom, that shakes up everything, because suddenly, because I mean, if they beat the Venom and they beat the Flight before that, suddenly we're talking about a team that's gone 2-1 as rookies, and that's, that becomes very exciting and very interesting. So, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I mean, the biggest upset will be the Flight coming out and smashing the Venom, the Wolves, and then I'll be eating all my words and probably retiring from speculation.
Then we're just gonna throw all the teams into a little hopper and pull them out one by one.
Out, and somehow the Sharks still land on top. I don't know how they did it. Figo manipulated the system somehow. Yeah, I would put. So I would weirdly, I'd put the Venoms here.
Okay, I can agree to that. So 10 we got Flight, 9 we got Palms, 8 we've got the Wolves, 7 we got the Wild, 6 we got the Breakers, and 5 we got the Venom, and that's just currently. So that leaves us with 4 remaining spots. You've got the Brigade, you've got the Lions, you got the Bandits, you got the Sharks.
Yes.
And this doesn't get any easier, because now we're looking at 2 1-1 teams and 2 2-0 teams. And I think we're in agreement that you want to value wins more than you value losses. And so what I guess my question to you is if we're going to go ahead and throw the Sharks in at 1, I think that's pretty safe to say, right?
Yeah.
So we're taking them completely out of the equation. And so now we're working with 3 teams for 3 spots. And is a 2-0 Bandits team where we're valuing wins over losses, should they be ranked higher than 2 1-1 teams.
And it feels crazy, doesn't it? I don't know, because oh man, the Flight are gonna hate me, but they beat the Flight. However, even there, they beat the Flight with a deck that was stacked against them, with injuries, with having to, you know, which players they were able to put in, having this kind of, dare we say, controversial call that they weren't allowed to add a player to the roster because the Flight, as is their right to do, blocked it.
I mean, that's a fair rule. I mean, I can't. That's
Yeah,
I'm not going to hold that against them.
No, I'm not going to hold that against them. On the, you know, do what you got to do, right? You're a rookie team coming in. It's your first match. Why would you not take any edge you can get? But it also means the Bandits beating you by 6 points is even more impressive because they did it slightly handicapped. You know, and I'm sure if I spoke to the Flight, they would say, well, also we had this and we had this player that was missing and this was meant to happen. And every team will have a litany of reasons because, you know, I always see people in the live chat that were like, I was supposed to be there, but this happened and I didn't make it to the match. But yeah, so the Bandits are doing very well, but so far they've beat the teams, as you said, the teams that we've put in 9th and 10th. But that being said, the Lions lost to the team that we've put in 7th. And the Brigade lost to the Lions. So I feel like we have to put the Lions above the Brigade, because that's one of the few where we've seen them go head to head. But then and then who did the Brigade lost to the Lions, but beat the Wolves. So the Wolves are in 8th. So they beat the team in 8th. They lost to the Lions. The Lions beat the team in they beat the Brigade, so they beat the team we're going to be putting potentially in 3rd or 4th. Yeah. But they lost to the team that is in 7th. And now Josh is chiming in. Going to have the world awfully low for having a win over a top 4 team and a loss to your 5th team. Yeah, I know.
Josh, we're gonna rehash this, but we do have concerns with our own rankings because of this. But
yeah, we have to put someone somewhere. We need to first we'll put them in, and then we can move people around. But
so for me, this isn't gonna get me any friends, but I think to me the Brigade go here. I think
the Brigade go 4th.
The Brigade go 4th, yes. And you know, you lose to a Lions team who just lost to a Wild team. So like without race times, the question you say, well, how good? We know the Lions are good, but how good are they? We know the Wild is good, but how good are they? And it's hard to quantify that without race times. But I think you can't put the Brigade ahead of the Lions because you got to take into consideration that head-to-head matchup. So if we're not going to put the Bandits there, then to me, the only other option is the Brigade.
Yeah. I think you either have to, so it's either Sharks, Lions, Brigade, Bandits, or it's Sharks, Bandits, Lions, Brigade. And there's no way you can put the Bandits between the Lions and the Brigade, because either it's based on like the potential of what you may be able to do in the following matches is still up in the air. We haven't seen it. If we're just doing it based on what we've already observed, a team that's won twice, has not been beaten, and has had 2 wins that were, so we mentioned, like, yes, okay, the flight was you know, a rookie team, a team we've put in 10th, but they had challenges due to injuries. Then the fact that they were able to win that race, like, you know, there was they have to use the super wild card to bring in someone to finish up like, that shows the level of grit that the Bandits had in order to win that first match, which also I feel needs to be rewarded to a degree. It feels crazy considering last season, but I can't think about last season. I feel it's like clean slate with all of these teams. It kind of has to be, because there's been so much change. Although, as we said, the Sharks have a very similar roster and are putting out a very similar performance. The Brigade have a similar roster. Not the Brigade, sorry. The Breakers have a similar roster. Few tweaks. So far have put up an impressive performance. But, you know, to quote Dominic Toretto, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning's winning, right? So they lost, and therefore we've got to accept that, right? That's the one that messes up the whole thing, as Josh is pointing out, is the Wild.
Yeah.
How can you lose to the Venoms and beat the Lions?
Why couldn't they just
that
win
to us?
both or lose both? Like, why do that to us? All right, so what are we saying for 4? Are we saying Bandits or are we saying Brigade here?
On the piece of paper I had here, I had written Bandits, but now I want to put the Bandits in second.
All right. So it looks like we're going to go Brigade 4, Lions 3, and Bandits 2. That gives us rewarding wins. All right. We're taking that into consideration. We're taking into consideration head-to-head, valuing that. If you beat a team, like, that should mean something. And I think those 2 pieces of criteria, if you go through the entire list, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's recap here.
Well,
so
it makes sense until, again, we look at the Wild. That's the only time it doesn't make sense.
yeah.
And my other caveat that I've added is, as I've said, until I see your player on the grid, I don't count them. So don't give me, well, we didn't have our full roster, we didn't have this person, they're coming. Once I see them, and Daniel, you might have I might be messing up his power rankings by adding this new thing, but guys, I'm tired of waiting to see people take to the grid and then being let down. So
Just don't even tease it. Just,
yeah,
when they show up, be like, they're here.
yes.
And so okay. So at 10 we have the Flight, at 9 we have the Palms, at 8 we have the Wolves, 7 we have the Wild, 6 we have the Breakers, 5 we have the Venom, 4 we have the Brigade, 3 we have the Lions, 2 we have the Bandits, and at number 1 we have the Sharks.
Yeah.
At 10 we have the Flight, and at 9 we have the Palms, and at 8 we have the Wolves. I don't think there's any discussion. I think those 10, 9, and 8 are 10, 9, and 8. I think.
Yeah. Happy with that.
So
I want to swap the Breakers and the Wild.
That's what I was going to say. I think if Josh's point, unfortunately, goes against his team.
Yep.
So, like, I agree. I think if we're going to value those things, that loss, despite it being to the number 1 team, is going to push the Breakers to 7 and move the Wild to 6.
Yeah.
So Wow. Breaker 7, Wild 6, Venom 5, Brigade, Lions, Bandits, Sharks rounded it out. Jason, that was not fun, was it?
No, nobody's happy. I'm slightly happy, but nobody's happy. What it does feel weird, like, you know, I guess I guess it goes back to what I said at the very beginning, right? Like, I'm not a looking forward guy. I'm a reflecting on what's happened person. And these power rankings are it feels almost silly because you're kind of like, well, surely this is just the rankings of the like the season rankings pretty much. And it is the season rankings, although what I guess the only difference we're making is saying, well, the Sharks are 2-0, the Bandits are 2-0, but we're definitely putting the Sharks above the Bandits. And other teams that are 1-1 or 1-0, we are. Oh, make a graphic so I can use it to get the squad fired up. Yeah, okay. Really, that's what I guess all we're doing is saying is kind of quantifying the wins and the losses, right? So this team won and this team won, but why was their win more impressive than this team's win? Or why was this loss more devastating than that loss? I guess is the what's weird is the fact that the Palms are in 9th and the Flight are in 10th, despite the fact that technically they've lost more. But they've had more opportunities to lose. And I guess that's the difference.
True.
Yeah, and I'm not changing that because I'm not mad.
Could you imagine? I mean, we changed that one at the very end. No, I think I agree. I think looking at it, you have we're valuing the 2-0 teams, Sharks and Bandits 1 and 2. Then you have the Lions who beat the Brigade ahead of the Brigade. So you have Lions and then Brigade. And then you have the Venom who beat the Wild ahead of the Wild. So then you have Venom, Wild. Then you have the Breakers who are winless, sitting there at 7. And then you have your Wolves, your Palms, and your Flight. And the Wolves being the higher of those bottom 3 because their loss was a better loss to a better team than the Flight and the Palms.
Yeah. And then I think there is that fairness, right? So like the Wild are below the Venom because the Venom beat the Wild. The Brigade are below the Lions because the Lions beat the Brigade. So it doesn't make sense to say, well, this team is better than that team when a lot of it is, as you said, we don't have race times. We don't have, you know, not even all of the teams have done the same race format. So it's not that we can't compare directly a lot of these teams unless you've gone head to head, in which case we can. And so it makes sense that if a team beat you, it's very hard to put them above you unless we're further down the season and we're like, yeah, well, that team beat us, but we won all our other matches and they lost all their other matches. Okay, that changes things. But currently we haven't had enough matches for that to factor in. I will say this is very different to the power rankings going in, which is not a slight on the power rankings going in, but is like showing that this season is very interesting. You know, it's one of the things where like if our power rankings now matched up with your power rankings going in, why bother playing the matches? Like we could have just sat at home and said, well, we already knew who was going to win everything. The fact that it is more, it's shaken up a lot more than, you know, the Bandits are in 2nd. That's insane. The Palms are in 9th. Like, what world are we living in where this is happening?
Wow.
I want to know if Paul is happy with a 5th place for the Venoms. That's what I'm most interested in.
No, he's only going to be happy unless it's number 1. No, I think what is crazy is that the power rankings from preseason, they're totally different than what they are now but they have the potential by the end of the season to be completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Sharks have a tough last two matches. Like, I mean, you never know. And I think that's what's great about the league is adding two new teams adds depth to the league, but it also that gap between the top teams and the other teams, it's shrinking. And I think as we saw last week, any team can win if you don't put out your best. So
so we have a double header coming up.
Yep.
And just to play a little bit with what could so let's say the Breakers beat the Brigade and then the Sharks beat the Brigade. That skyrockets the Breakers up the table. That drops the Brigade dramatically, and the Sharks stay where they are. If the Brigade beat the Sharks, that would be an incredible upset that would shake things up. We've got the Wolves going against Venoms and the Flight, so the Wolves could push themselves way up the table if they win both those matches. They could drop to the bottom if the Flight beat them and the Venom beat them. And if Venom beat the Wolves, they were only playing the one match, but that's now them sitting at 2-0. And yes, there have been maybe two teams that are low on the table, but we're rewarding wins. And the Bandits aren't playing, so they're not going to have a chance to shift their ranking in any way. So there's a lot that could happen just within those matches. I mean, the Lions, if the Lions are going against the Sharks. So what do we do when the Lions have lost twice? Currently you're seeing it. So, if you've got the Brigade going against the Sharks and the Lions going against the Sharks. So if either of those teams beats the Sharks, what does that mean?
What would it mean if the Palms beat the Breakers? You're taking a Breakers team that we were having trouble fitting in because of their one loss by 1 point to the Sharks. And if they lose to the Palms, does that move them to 9th or 10th? I mean,
well,
that's
I feel like it depends
wild.
it depends what happens on Saturday, right? So if they lose to the Brigade and they lose to the Palms, they're free, and they're they've lost 3 matches in a row. Now you're bottom. Well, unless the Flight lose, in which case they're still bottom. But then it's what if the Breakers beat the Brigade but then lose to the Palms? Now what do we do? Because we've got the team that we put in 9th. It's just yeah.
It is a dream. It is. It's you couldn't script it any better. It's gives validation to playing the matches every single week. But
yeah, and he's saying this is like a dream to watch and follow along. But we're talking about hypotheticals. What if this? What if that? He's got the power to make that happen.
Yeah,
Clark,
we
can't do anything here. What am I gonna do? But he can take to the grid and actually. It would only be better if every team played each week. Yeah, I understand the frustration for teams as well. I feel like trying to do this power ranking does highlight a bit of an issue here with the season format, because currently we're oh, well, this team, they've won 2, but now the Bandits aren't going to play for the next 2 days of matches. We're not going to see them again until Dallas, and then by that point another team, the Sharks could now be 3-0, that puts them right up there. But also there's another world where the Brigade could win and the Brigade could be 3-1. Would that make sense? Could that be possible? They have played 4 matches, weren't they?
Yeah. So the Sharks at the end of the New Jersey trip, the Brigade will have played 4 matches, and so will the Sharks. and those will be the two teams not in Dallas.
Yeah. And so at that point, let's say the Brigade win both their matches. Both teams, and the Sharks beat the Lions. So the Sharks beat the Lions, but the Brigade beat the Sharks, and the Brigade beat the Breakers. We now go into, well, we don't even go into it because then neither of them are in Dallas. So we now end with waiting and seeing what the Bandits do in Dallas, because both the Brigade and the Sharks are 3-1 in that world. And now it's like, well, Bandits, what do you do? If they lose to the Venom, we're like, oh, now they're 2-1. Then we've got to wait till the next day to see them maybe beat the Wild and go, oh, now they're also 3-1. So it's like, it's tricky to, I can understand why there is this sort of, it's exciting, and it is exciting, and there's a lot going on. And it is, I suppose it's one of the things where you need shows like this, or dare I plug a recap show or anything like that, where you can say, okay, yes, this team's doing very well, but please let's remember this other team. So, and this will probably be part of the story in New York, where we'll be going, yeah, they're doing really well. They're doing really well. Just remember the Bandits are not here and they're currently unbeaten. So we need to keep that as part of the discourse. Obviously we're very aware of that, but maybe not everyone is, when you watch 2 days of competition, you're probably not thinking about the teams that aren't playing.
Right. I mean, when you think of a 10-team league and you have 2 days back to back, you almost make the assumption that all teams are going to play.
Yeah. Well, when I was contemplating and attempting to get out to New Jersey, somebody messaged me like, oh, why aren't you coming to Dallas? Because we're not going to be there. And I was like, you're not going to be there? And then I had to double check. Like, oh yeah, there's not all the teams are there. Like, this was obviously pre-season, but I was hadn't really thought about the fact that not all. I just assumed, double header, all the teams will be there those days. No, wrong. That was my mistake. But yes, okay.
Well, let's. We've been an hour, a little over an hour. Let's wrap this thing up, Jason. Anything you want to plug or promote, man? I heard you got a fitness media brand. Like,
yeah.
What's going on? Jason Fitness Media.
What is going on with Jason Fitness Media? Yeah, there's some stuff coming up. Hopefully, here's an interesting thing. I was on a live stream this weekend gone for the UBL championship in Naples, Italy, tied in remotely, just for like 20 minutes. But it was interesting because it was, I'm thinking like, is there any way they can get that system over to Grid? Because it was quite nice to be able to see everything and commentate over the live stream. So that was fun. So I was there virtually. What have I got coming up? In August, 2 weeks, I guess, after the Grid matches, there will be the IF3 International Functional Fitness Championships. The Masters and Teens Championships will be in the lovely city of Bath, where I live. So I will be down there, probably interviewing athletes from different parts of the world that are part of the IF3. So that will be fun. As I was hoping to be in New York, and that's not really happening because it's incredibly expensive, everybody. I will probably try and go live again, like do recaps 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
So like, I know, for example, Venoms, you guys are free on Saturday, and I know that other teams are free on the Sunday. So if you're there and you want to jump on one of the shows, if you want to be your representative from your team jumping on, like, between now and then, reach out, let me know, because it worked pretty well last time. Better than I thought. We actually got, every time we had players joining us straight after the matches. So that was fun, but late. Let's try and do it 2 days in a row. Will be really interesting. But yeah, I think people enjoyed it, and it was good fun to do. So I'll once again be assembling a crack team.
The good news is it's only 3 matches.
It's only 3 matches.
The bad news is on the first day, it's 6 p.m. is the last match, but the next day it's 4 p.m.
Yeah.
on the East. So
It's not too bad.
yeah,
It's manageable. It'll be fine.
I
Yeah.
don't know,
So I've
man.
got that, and between now and then, probably interviews that usually are happening. It might be maybe some games athletes if I manage to actually like organize that properly. But I've been monopolizing a lot of my time for grid stuff, so that's that's taken a bit of time.
Well, we appreciate that. We do. We do. I will say, if you liked this little collaboration, people in the chat, me and Jason getting together, whether it's on my show or it's on Plate Stack Chat, let us know. If you want to see more of us, you want to see us break down other things, tell us what you want us to talk about. We might can make that happen. Jason, man, I appreciate you. Best of luck with everything. And hey, enjoy the rest of your night. And, on August 8th and 9th, we'll see you in the live stream. I'm going to do my best after the matches to hop on. I tried, but it just gets crazy in between the matches. But I'm going to do my best to be a better viewer and a better contributor on that chat.
Or jump on. I will send you. I'll say it here, everybody, so I can't hold. I can't. So what I did with the other people is I sent my little team. They had links for all four live streams, and then I would send links to other people for specific ones. I will more than happily give you the links for the 4 live streams. And if you have 2 minutes to jump on, you can just log in and you're in. And if you're busy,
I'm gonna log in
regardless
in the middle of a match.
Well, I'm not live in the middle of a match.
Oh.
But I could.
Darn.
Well, here's the you say that, so we'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. But I don't want to steal views from the live stream.
True.
And what I would do is tell people, put them both on, and we'll talk over it. But then I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful to Cassian Taylor, and I don't want to, step on anybody's toes. So usually, if you're watching the matches, about 5 minutes after they've ended, jump on over to my channel. We'll be live, and we'll be going, can you believe what just happened?
Can't wait. So Josh said definitely more of you and I. Kristen, definitely more. And Clark says great job. So a lot of people liking this little collaboration. So
nobody's jumped in and said no way. Despite wait.
I'm not showing those comments.
Yeah. Even what's amazing is we get a great job from somebody who we have shot down the rankings solo.
Very true. 2 people, one talked us into moving.
Yeah, Josh is his own worst enemy, so that's his fault.
I gotta say this, Josh. He gets in his own way, and I saw it again on social media where he's doing his farmer's carry, and as if he couldn't one up himself, he did. All the plates fell off of his farmer's bars that he was carrying. And if we know anything about Dallas, we saw what happened last year. Hopefully he gets the opportunity to redeem himself, which will be soon.
I would add, if people want more of this, you've got to send stuff our way. I don't want, we're not just going to come and do power rankings every time. That's boring. Like, if there's stuff you're seeing happening, I think a social media scroll would be great of just like, here's what people are putting out. Did you see so-and-so put up their toaster rings? Did you see so-and-so practicing this movement? Did you see Josh doing those glide muscle up things? and are we going to see him doing them for the breakers? That would be incredible. So
who knows? But let's get out of here. Jason, I appreciate it. We'll see y'all next time. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We're out.